When is the last time we can talk about the Cleveland Browns and say, oh my goodness, did they hit a potential home run? Welcome back to the show. This is Blitz with Blender. I am Josh Blender. We're excited to provide you with another episode. Make sure to leave a comment at the end of this or during it if you've got something to say, or subscribe for more football content in the future. So Cleveland, they have been a perennial team that is going to mess something up. And when it's all said and done, maybe they did, because they traded out of that number 2 spot, or they had every right. They could have right there, boom, picked Travis Hunter, who has the chance to start on both sides of the football, but instead opted to trade back to slot number 5, where they took Mason Graham, the defensive tackle out of Michigan. They also got a little bit more draft capital. They got pick number 36. And with that slot, I mean, they had the flexibility to be able to go out and get a running back in Quinshon Judkins, who brings an element to this offense, very much a similar type of player to Nick Chubb. He weighs 220 pounds and ran a 40 in the 4.4s. And a lot of drafts, he could have been a first-round talent. And then, because they traded back just from 2 to 5, they got a future first-round pick from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, with that division in the AFC South being weak, we can outright say it. They're going to be able to win 2-3 easy games, right off the bat, being able to beat the likes of Indianapolis, likely once beating Tennessee, being able to battle with Houston. So you can mark them in for 2-4, 3-3 division. They're not going to be terrible against those in-division teams. It's just against the likes of other competition within the AFC conference. But Cleveland doesn't make the type of moves where you're like, ooh, like we like that, because Mason Graham was at that top 3 spot. It was Mason Graham, Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, Mason Graham, Travis Hunter, and then Abdul Carter on just about every big board. And because of the quarterback going, and then New England needing to add a pivotal piece to their offense, to a piece of that wall to protect their new franchise quarterback in Drake May, they went with Will Campbell. By all rights, this is a terrific selection for them. He could be their left tackle for the next 10 years. But Mason Graham, he has been a disruptive force. And look, I'm a big Ohio State fan. If you watch this consistently and follow my content, you know how much I enjoy Ohio State. So you know that I have been there to see Ohio State's inability to run the football against Michigan over the last couple of seasons. And that duo of Kenneth Grant, who went 13, and Mason Graham was something to behold. The Buckeyes had no room to run the football. And again, he's playing against a guy he was tackling and hitting a whole lot in the game last season. Quinshon Judkins is going to be his teammate now. It's funny how that ends up working. But he has an element of speed that creeps up on you. He is ferocious there in the middle, getting his hands in position. Isn't a huge 6'6", 335-pound plug in the middle, and he's faster than you think he is, and is able to just disrupt. Just as good with run as the pass. The pass element to his abilities as a pass rusher does need to improve. But Mason Graham at 5 is still pretty good value. It's just, what is going to become of that future first-round pick? How are they going to fall in that next draft? And it just depends on what becomes of Jacksonville ultimately, where they're going to reap the biggest rewards. They ended up taking Dylan Gabriel as we go through their draft in the 3rd round. This was a bit of a shock because they took Carson Schwezinger with pick number 33, the linebacker, filling in another need, and likely the second best off-ball linebacker behind Jahad Campbell in this draft. And so they go with him from UCLA, the tackle machine guy that just wraps you up, one of those, well, you would think Big Ten linebackers, but obviously that's only been for a season out of the Pac-12. And then the Dylan Gabriel pick, you were thinking, when is Shedeur going to get selected? Obviously slides. But Cleveland ended up still taking Shedeur Sanders in the 5th round. They're opting to try and give Kevin Stefanski the best opportunity to truly evaluate the quarterback decision to determine who is the best guy that is going to help us win a whole bunch of football games if we can do that here this season or in the future. So, Shedeur Sanders being on a lot of people's top 50 prospects or in the top 30, thought to be possibly a first-round selection. We all know how well documented the slide is, but Dillon Gabriel, I still love that choice because this looks like a guy, I'm not being negative here, but he looks like he could be an absolute 10-year backup quarterback in the National Football League. We talk about his experience at the college level, setting the new record after he broke Bo Nix's starting record with the most touchdowns, I believe, in college football history when he threw another one in that Rose Bowl. It was like 201 or 202 total in his college football quarterback playing career. And having those guys compete. And then with Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco still there. We know Watson's not going to be playing with the Achilles injury and then the ACL, and he has had all these problems. But those four starters, you're going to sift through all of that data and have those guys compete to deliver the best starting quarterback. And Stefanski in that role, he is their technically also like their offensive coordinator. He's going to put the best quarterback out on the field, and whoever that guy is, their run game is going to be very much supported with Judkins, as well as their defense with Schlesinger and Mason Graham paired with Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward. Like they are going to be an extraordinarily good defense, extremely tough to run the football against, even a lot more so now with Graham and Schlesinger. So you can kind of get the pieces and the enthusiasm with what I'm speaking right now. The Cleveland Browns are looking like a team that's absolutely relevant no matter what they do this year. It would still be like if Gabriel or Shedeur, no matter who gets that starting nod, the rookie season we know is going to be a struggle. No one is expecting the Cleveland Browns to make the playoffs. But if they can get 7 wins and then they can wind up with a top 14 selection from that Jacksonville selection in the first round. Again, if they had 7 wins, they would be falling right around those early teen numbers, something from 13 to 16. They could really continue to build around whoever that quarterback is and then fill in. They could get a wide receiver. They can do a lot of things with that draft capital that they are amassing. So for Cleveland to play this and for Jacksonville to be the one with all of that stress now. I mean, imagine if we were sitting there and Shedeur Sanders in a different universe had gone, second overall. They wouldn't have the future first-round pick. They wouldn't have that 36th overall pick to take Judkins. They wouldn't have Mason Graham as well, and I guess the 5th rounder, they could have taken someone else. But in this version, they get Judkins, they get Mason Graham, as well as a future first-rounder, and pairing that with also Shedeur Sanders, the number of picks we're talking about here. So the value of trading back could be equivalent to what the Bears honestly got with Caleb Williams. Like maybe Travis Hunter turns into a Hall of Fame player. It's certainly possible if he can do it on both sides of the football. He could be very good on each side of the ball and still be in that Hall of Fame caliber, doing it every single time the offense or defense is out there. But we're talking about 2 extra players instead of if they had wound up with just one quarterback early in the draft. So that is why the value of hitting on your quarterback and having your franchise quarterback, that's the entire NFL. That's what we're talking about here. That is it. Because when you have that quarterback, you are not wasting picks every couple of years like the Browns have done, missing on guys. Menzel, Baker Mayfield overall, Deshaun Kaiser, who they ended up taking. You can run through the list of guys that they have missed on and how it has impacted their team. Just think about when Baker was somewhat working for them and they had Chubb and Landry and those teams. Like they were putting the Chiefs in a pretty large predicament when Mahomes was hurt a couple of seasons ago in the playoffs. So when you hit on your quarterback, you can build around that guy. You can get positions of need. You know that position is solidified, can go somewhere else, and that is when your roster starts to build. And when it's truly powerful because you've got that guy in a rookie contract. That's why we see teams like the Chiefs or the Bengals or the Cowboys who have their franchise quarterback, but there's just a lack of flexibility. They're paying him $60 million instead of the Browns are going to be paying Shador less than $1 million a year. So that's what, $50 million in cap space they can utilize to keep a Myles Garrett to pay other players in the future. So Cleveland is going to be right there with an opportunity to get back into relevancy in the AFC North. Certainly, you could put them right there with Pittsburgh. We know how good the Baltimore Ravens are. It will be tough, though, overtaking Cleveland, but they might have the pieces to put together legitimately a better roster. So thank you so much. Would be so much fun to maybe have some Browns fans or people giving their thoughts on what they think of Cleveland, if this really could be the turning of the tide for them, if Shador could be the savior of that franchise, or maybe it is Dylan Gabriel or someone else filling into a surprising role. But again, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe for more football content. Appreciate you.